Like and subscribe for a chance to win your very own DJ set performed live by me.
Hi guys, so I'm up here in North Yorkshire. Tonight's adventure we're going to be wild camping at Pendragon Castle, which is an old castle in the middle of North Yorkshire, in the middle of nowhere. Interesting history surrounding it, which I'll get into later on tonight. But first, we've just got one little stop to make here, a site called Long Meg and her Daughters. It's an impressive monument over 5,000 years old. So we're going to go take a look. Hi guys, so we're just here at Long Meg and her Daughters. That's Long Meg behind me. And in front, stone circle. 68 stones. It's the third largest prehistoric circle in the UK. It's all the way down there. And back to here. It's Long Meg. It is very large. It does remind me of Avebury. Avebury's probably bigger. I think Avebury's the biggest. Don't know why, but I really like this rock. It's got its own little verge of hair underneath it. This is probably the most notable one, other than Meg. Maybe Meg's eldest daughter. You have to admire these two whopping oak trees right in the middle of it. Wonder how old they are. This is the alignment along Meg. So legend claims that the stone circle is a coven of witches turned to stone by Scottish wizards. It is said if anyone counts the same number of stones clockwise and anti-clockwise, then either they will be turned to stone themselves or the stones will turn back into witches. There we go. Hi guys, so I've just stopped up at Leeds for a bit to eat and I'm just in the beer garden now and I just want to show you this view. Absolutely awesome. It's got to be one of the best views from the beer garden. So yeah. Hi guys, so here we are at a wild camping spot for the night, Pendragon Castle. It's now about 9:30, so the perfect time to arrive for a wild camp. I was here earlier and I've had a little scout around. It's actually a lot windier than it was earlier, but we've still got a little bit of shelter here. And then there's a couple of little egresses I can dive into if it does start raining later on tonight. It does say there is a little bit of rain, but I don't think it's much more than a bivvy bag can handle.
Perched in the remote Malastang Valley, Pendragon Castle is steeped in both history and legend. It's said to have been built by Uther Pendragon, the legendary Arthur of King Arthur, although historians believe it was actually built by the Normans in the 12th century. Local folklore claims Uther tried to divert the River Eden to form a moat, but the river wouldn't move, and this inspired the saying, "Eden will run where Eden ran." After centuries of conflict and decay, the castle was restored by Lady Anne Clifford in the 1600s before eventually falling back into ruin. Today, its dramatic remains continue to captivate visitors and keep the Arthurian legend alive.
See these little green things, like you see them in a lot of the Welsh slate quarries. Seem to be able to grow out of anything, especially rock. I really like them. I think they look like little aliens, tentacle creatures. As you can see, a lot of nature growing on these walls. Another legend claims that Uther died here after the Saxons poisoned the castle well, killing him and many of his warriors. So that's what they're saying, that the father of King Arthur was killed here. That's pretty cool. In terms of like the place, it's just beautiful, really nice, really scenic, kind of in the middle of nowhere, but really, really sort of overgrown. So I put together a little bit of a list really of tips on wild camping. It's not an exhaustive list, but I just wanted to run through a few things really that I found work for me when it comes to wild camping. So I think the first thing is really important is the location. You know, you want to try and get in a really good location. Now that might be ideally in a valley. You've got to consider wind and rain. Wind and rain are the two things. Both together is unbearable. With wind, you know, you just want a bit of natural shelter to try and help with that. And rain, I generally pack a tarp and a fly sheet. I always put a tarp under me no matter where I am. It just gives you a layer between you and the bugs really and everything on the ground. It's tempting to sleep in the woods, but then there's lots of bugs in the wood. You might get bit quite a bit in the woods. If you do camp in the woods, pick a spot where there isn't an ant's nest or anything like that. Put a tarp down and, you know, if you can, use the shelter of a tree above you, and watch out for things like deadwood. You know, stay away from deadwood. Use the actual branches that are there. Generally I try and sleep out in the open, but obviously, you know, with your wind and your rain, you've got to consider. But for me, wild camping is about being close to nature. You know, I don't generally use a tent when I wild camp. You can do. I mean, you can camp in a tent anywhere. But for me, that's not really any different than just camping in a campsite. For me, it's about being under the stars. It's about soaking up your surrounding, the ambience, the atmosphere, and also the harmony of a world which isn't human created. But that said, nothing can be gained from being uncomfortable, cold, and being wet. So it's about finding the right balance. I always try to use nature around me as shelter. You know, walls are perfect. You can sleep next to a wall, chuck a fly sheet over the wall, and there you are. It's dead easy to do. Gives you protection from the rain. Quite often what I do is sleep in a bivvy bag, a nice Thermarest mat, real comfortable mat in there, and a sleeping bag in there. And I generally sleep out in the open. But try to use what nature you can basically. So one of the shelters I built had a load of slate. We used slate to around the edge of the fly sheet to keep it locked down. That worked really, really well. That was just what was there. In terms of your gear, invest in good gear. You don't need a really expensive, all the top-notch stuff. But if you buy cheap stuff, you know, you're not going to have a comfortable night. One thing I definitely recommend is a Thermarest, a good quality Thermarest, which is just comfortable to sleep on. You know, it's nothing worse than having a rubbish night's sleep. Sleeping bag itself, match your surroundings. Like I've got a 2-season and I've got a 4-season, well 3 to 4 season. The 2-season is for weather like this, summer weather. Because once you've got your bivvy bag on the outside and your sleeping bag and that's already extra layers. So you don't need to go over the top. Get comfortable in your sleeping bag. I'm always telling Blake to do it. He sleeps in his clothes and he complains he's cold. It's like, well, you're trapping in the cold layers. And also bivvy bag, make sure you get a proper bivvy bag, one that's fully waterproof, one that's got taped seams. If you're wondering what taped seams are, if you look on a jacket or anything that's waterproof, check where the seams are on the inside. And if you can see sort of like a plastic layer, that means it's taped. And if they're not taped, you'll get wet. Ex-military stuff, the military surplus stores. This bivvy bag is from a military surplus store. It wasn't expensive. I think it was like 30 quid. And it is perfect. And it's fairly camouflaged as well. If you're doing the stealth camping, which which I seem to be doing at the moment. And the fly sheet, I'm not got it up tonight, but that's because I've got these little edifices that I can retreat into if it does start raining, which it probably will do at some point, but unless it really chucks it down, I'm okay with a little bit of rain. And then you got your stove. Get yourself a nice lightweight stove and a dehydrated food. That just cuts your weight down massively. So this backpack here, I can fit all the mine and Blake stuff in that. It's heavy. I don't really like doing a 30-mile walk with it. The thing is as well with a camping stove as well, if you're going to leave no trace, you can't be thinking about barbecues or fires. In a place like this, you can't be having fires here. A little tip as well that I found, if you're wild camping, know where you're going to be sleeping before you're in a position. So me and Blake have been caught out a couple of times. I think Coniston, we went there thinking we could just find somewhere there. But by the time we got there, it was dark, it was gale force winds, it was raining. We walked for 25 minutes, and by that time you're sodden, you're wet through. We had to sleep in the car. Trying to give yourself the best chance of a hobby where it's free, and arguably you see more of the things you want to see than you do on the tourist trail. Anyway, I hope you like those tips. There's other tips as well. I mean, there's more experienced wild campers than me, qualified outdoor enthusiasts. That's just my little 2 pence on it, but I just thought I'd mention that whilst I'm waiting for the sun to set. And this place is already starting to seem like a very different kind of place to the one that I walked in on. So after I finished that the end of that video, I was getting abused by mosquitoes and gnats and all sorts, midges probably. So I've had to abandon that spot. It was a lovely spot down there, but it's just like oh my god, it's like a breeding ground. And thinking about it, if you look all around, there's grass everywhere and flowers. So that's a lesson, isn't it? You can do your due diligence, but you might need to change your plans. So this is my new resting spot. Sun setting there. There we go. So I'm actually in the top floor. You can see my little bed in there. So I don't know, we'll see what happens a bit later on. I've got a torch. Gonna get the torch out in a bit, have a wander around and see what we can see. Hi guys, so it's got dark, so we're gonna go and check out, have a little bit of an explore. Here's my little camping spot. It's quite nice really. So I've actually got pretty much my own little sort of cave. It's got a roof on it, and aside from the odd drip that comes down, it's quite cool.
Pendragon Castle is no stranger to paranormal activity. Legend tells of a ghostly woman in white wandering the ruins after dark. One of the strangest tales speaks of a ghostly black hen that fiercely guards a hidden treasure buried deep beneath the castle, and is said to thwart anyone who dares to dig for it. Phantom horseman is said to thunder through the night, with some believing it is King Uther Pendragon himself, coming back to seek revenge. Whoa! Morning guys. Had a really comfortable night's sleep. Really peaceful as always. Left no trace. Got everything in my bag, got my empty bottles in the bag. And that's the wild camp here for this evening, just a short one. Another couple of videos coming up. Tonight's the biggie, which I'll post in a bit. Consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel, and you'll see all the latest videos that come out, whether it's an explore video, a challenge video, or even me putting together a little creation. So I'll see you on the next one. Join me next time as I sneak into a grand hotel in North Cumbria, where traces of its former elegance still linger in the decaying halls. But the deeper I went, the more questions I had. Was I really alone?
Please leave the area immediately.